You are listening to the Music Mondays with Mazement podcast. You can find this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. For more information, go to musicmondayspodcast.com. What's going on? This is another episode of the Music Mondays with Mazement podcast. I am your host. We're kicking off the new year in this episode. A lot of things have been happening. I haven't even had a release feast on this podcast in the past few episodes, so that'll happen at the end of this episode. I got a few picks that I want you to know about. I also have a special artist on call in today's episode, and we're going to talk about some of the trends that are going into 2022 musically around the industry. Before any of that, here's a fact.
Music Mondays, music facts.
Eminem's song Rap God has the most words in a song ever with 1,560 words total.
Music Mondays, music facts.
There are a few upgrades to this podcast going forward this year in 2022, one of which I'm bringing back some of the artists on call guests that came on in the past and will continue to do so moving forward. There'll be repeats and a new segment called Artist on Call Remix. So expect to see some of those guests returning on the podcast in the coming episodes, as well as some new ones and all new artists on calls as well. The first piece of news that stuck out to me this past month was that Neil Young pulled all of his music off of Spotify due to Joe Rogan obviously having his big Spotify deal exclusively with Spotify for his podcast, who came out publicly against COVID vaccines and all that. You know, most likely you've heard about it, but because of that and because of Neil Young being such a humanitarian and making a stance for what he believes in, he's pulling all of his music off of Spotify. It actually already happened. And by Neil Young pulling his music off of Spotify, Spotify took more than a $2 billion hit to their market value. So it's pretty substantial on the effect that he had by pulling his music off. I don't know if it's going to do anything. I mean, they have Joe Rogan signed to a deal. What are they going to say? Like, you know, censor yourself? I mean, Joe Rogan's been known to be vocal about his opinion. Most podcasts are anyways. I mean, this is what I'm doing here. I don't know if it's going to really do anything. It's not like I don't really think they're going to try to pull Neil Young back in a way as much as you think they should. I just found it interesting that it took that much of a hit to their market value, and it does go to show that opinions matter, you know? Like, ever since social media became a thing, it seems like, and I think I've talked about this on the podcast in the past, it seems like people just feel like they can say whatever they want and that their opinion matters more than anybody else's, which all voices should be heard. There's also consequences to come with certain things that you say and certain things that you do. So this is one of those things. Unfortunately, I'm sure, if anything, Joe Rogan's probably getting some crap from Spotify executives. I don't know. The next story I found interesting was another versus battle is on the horizon. And a lot of them have been cool so far. Like I mentioned a few on this podcast, but this one I never really thought about because I just never thought that it would be, you know, possible. But Eminem being in a versus battle, Dr. Dre came out and is searching for for another artist to battle Eminem in a versus battle. Now, one name that came up that I found very interesting and possible was Busta Rhymes. So that would be one to look forward to if that happens. Stay tuned on that because I don't know if there's too many other rappers that could face up to Eminem. You know, because even these new guys like J. Cole or, you know, any of even Royce da 5'9" has been around for a while, but Eminem's at a different level, and I feel like Busta Rhymes is up at that level too. You know, based on his impact on hip hop history and the hits that they've come out with, both of them. You know, I feel like that's a good battle right there. And Busta's just crazy with his flow. So that would be awesome. Hopefully that happens soon. The final piece of news that I want to bring up is the David Bowie estate has sold his publishing catalog to Warner Chappell for $250 million. That is kind of a win-win for the estate of David Bowie because they obviously got a good payout, and his music will live on, forever, hopefully. So as stated in the beginning of this podcast, I mentioned I'm going to talk about the trends of 2022 that are predicted to be happening. So running a label, being a producer, being an artist, I'm always looking into trends each quarter, as often as I can. January of any year is the biggest time to be looking into trends. I mean, usually even do it before the year. But I figured this episode to start off 2022 was a great start, especially because it seems like we're on, hopefully. I mean, I think people have been saying this the past, year, but it feels like we're on the back end of COVID here. So trends might be ticking in an upward fashion to see more shows, to see more different things happening that haven't been happening in the past few years. So I'm going to share some of these with you. There were so many different articles that came out about different trends and all that. Some of them just didn't seem realistic. So I picked the one that I felt was the most realistic and believable. And that was Mixdown Magazine. I'm just going to pick out a few. One of them being that there's going to be new ways to find new music, as is every other year. I felt like this was kind of an obvious one, but I figured I'd expand on it since like 24% of the population has found music through video games, which I thought was interesting just because a lot of artists don't realize that they can license their music to video games. And then there was like another, I think there was like 50% of the population finds their music through streaming services like Spotify, Apple Music, which is understandable. And then the other 36% get their music through, radio, satellite radio, or whatever. NFTs, non-fungible tokens, are going to go mainstream. That's another one that came up that I thought was interesting. I mean, there's a big boom for NFTs right now. And I feel like my opinion on it is I feel like you have to have some sort of value in order for the NFT to have value. Because it's like, why would somebody want to invest? I don't know. Obviously, there's a lot more to learn on NFTs, but from my understanding, it's a digital asset that you can sell for crazy amounts of money. I mean, Eminem has done it. So many different artists have done it. So many different people. From my understanding, it has to be digital, but they're trying to make it go physical as well. I mean, now there's a restaurant opening up in New York. I forget what it's called, but it's NFT, and it's NFT restaurants, the first, I think, in the world of an NFT restaurant. And you need to be a member to get in, and to be a member, you got to buy a ticket to the restaurant. There's only 3,000 tickets getting sold from what I remember, and those tickets are the NFT. Like each year, they might go up in price, and then people can auction them off or sell them. But it's like a members only type restaurant. Pretty cool. I could also see it building more of a demand for other things down the road as well, because once it becomes oversaturated, like any market does when it becomes popular, the weaker ones are going to obviously die off, like with anything else, and the valuable ones will only become that much more valuable at that point, in my opinion. So it is interesting. I'm curious to see how it affects the industry. Maybe like artists doing like a live video performance and only selling that performance for like $1 million if it's like a big artist, that hasn't performed in a while. I thought that would be like a cool one. There's so many that could happen. I mean, especially being digital assets or digital content, but interesting. A lot of them have been GIFs, like just a loop, like an art thing on an art video on like a loop. I've seen that. But if you want to know more, Google NFT. There's so many sources to find out more about it. Just make sure you're reading one that's giving you the right information. Concert prices are predicted to be going up this year since the industry took such a hit during COVID. As expected, I could see that happening, and there being more of a demand to get out to concerts since everybody's been locked down. Those tickets are going to go up. And the final one I want to bring up is that songs are to become more colorful and upbeat, which I thought was interesting because if you notice the past couple of years, the music industry has this really dark and kind of gloomy phase in music. Like it's like some of the songs, like Billie Eilish is a good example, like really sad songs type feel. And then even hip hop, like I hope that becomes more colorful and upbeat because I haven't been impressed, as you already know. I thought this was interesting, and I felt like it had to happen at some point because in a way I was kind of sick of the, gloomy feel that music was having. Might be part of the reason why I haven't released anything solo. And it might also lead into my goals for last month. If you listen to the last episode, different from other artists, there's artists that are out there that are performing 100 shows a year, 150 shows, 200 shows. This is something I wanted to bring up because once I made my goals last month, one of the goals was to perform 2 shows this year. So a lot of people listening are probably like, oh, he's an artist. Why is 2 shows? That's like nothing. It is nothing. But last year, I forget what my goal was for 2021. I didn't even come close to that. I didn't even try. At least 2 shows is a good goal to target. And I'm also doing all this other stuff that's keeping me away from being an artist. So I'm not even really going full time like most artists are. But speaking of which, before we get into the Artist on Call segment today, I will say there is some big news coming out with my labels soon. So stay tuned on that. My group Release Duo does have some songs in the works that are going to come out pretty soon. If you haven't checked out Something New and Hometown, our first 2 singles that just came out in late 2021, check those out now. Conscious hip hop tracks with some flows I think you'll dig if you're a hip hop fan. Otherwise, I will give you a hint that the label news has to do with other genres besides hip hop. So that's the biggest hint I'll give you. It's leaves you on ice, and that's how I like it. But speaking of hip hop, today's artist on call is an artist I've been trying to get on the podcast for a little while now. He brings a different perspective than I've come across in the past. You know, most artists are focused on image and focused on branding. This artist is more focused on the music and wants people to hear what he's doing rather than see who he is and see how he's doing. He wants to have all the focus on the music and the sound, which as soon as I heard his story and learned more about him, I became a huge fan of that theory, that belief, that vision. I'm all for it. Not a lot of artists have done this in the past, so this is definitely kind of a niche type thing as an artist. A lot of people might hate it, but a lot of people might love it. But I feel like his perspective around it is respectable. His name is RememberSB. He is from New Jersey. We're going to get right into it with RememberSB, and then we're going to close this episode out with a short release feast. Now, when recording this artist on call, something happened with my audio and my video and totally cut me out. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you're going to see him the entire time that the segment is going on. Sorry about that. You're welcome if you didn't want to see me in it. But my audio, for some reason, was messed up too. So sorry about that as well. I tried to fix it as much as I could. Hope you enjoy it. Luckily, his audio is clear because really that's why we're listening to these artists on calls, is more so on the artist side of it. So that was great that he came in clear and you got to see him the whole time. But that's why you're only going to see him if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you're listening to the audio on this, you'll notice a slight change in my audio quality, which won't happen again, I promise. But here it is, an all new artist on call.
Artist on call. Artist on call.
How's it going, man?
Hey man, I'm doing great right now. Living, working hard.
I hear you there. Now, was there a specific moment in your life before COVID that influenced the whole mask wearing thing, or was it just based on what you saw around you?
I wasn't allowed to listen to rap growing up, but when I finally had a chance to, and I tried pursuing it myself, my family didn't agree with it, so I was left homeless. I was homeless for 3.5 years. I didn't let that stop me. Didn't matter if I didn't shower for days, sometimes even a week. If I was sleeping in parks and things like that, but I always find open mics, somehow always find a way into a studio, and nobody cared. Like, like at first, if I go to an open mic and people see me at first with dusty clothes and I smell bad and shit, yeah, they got their prejudgments. But once that music starts going, they didn't give a shit no more. They were trying to help me out. Like, hey, you need a place to stay, you need a shower. Like, so from there, I knew that, the image didn't mean anything. It was the music that meant more. And, from there, I just kept being creative. And then I started thinking like, man, why don't I just switch it up every time and just now wear something? Because if people didn't care about my image before, I shouldn't make that a thing now,
Oh, absolutely. And how long have you been doing music for?
Well, that's like a double loaded question, because I actually started playing the saxophone when I was 6.
Oh, damn.
Taught myself how to play piano at 10, and then was composing music and shit. So like, I've been musically inclined since a little kid. But I've been taking rap seriously since 2019, but have been working on it for a few years before that.
That's dope. You notice how I said how long you've been doing music? Because I was like, maybe there's something else here. There is. That's sick. Now, as a rapper, like as a lyricist, you know, I can relate to this too. But the difference between your image and my image is like people see me, people connect eye to eye with me. You know, do you ever feel like you have a problem with that with different fans? Like they can't see exactly who you are and they only see the mask?
No, because my shows, I don't wear masks.
Oh, okay.
So if you could take if you have the ability, because I go all over,
right?
I'll travel. So if you have the opportunity to come out to a show, it's like a double bonus.
Yeah.
You know, so not only do they get to see what I look like, they can hang out, take pictures with me, but they will understand like my thing for IG. Like, so if they were going to post it on IG instead of like them just getting a chance to look at it themselves, they'll put like a little emoji face over me, you know, just out of respect, like, you know, because they understand how I do things. But it's not like I'm hiding from life.
Right.
It's just everything that, I wanted to portray in my artistry. So yeah, when I go out to shows or somebody catches me in the street, says what's up, you know, normally I'm wearing, you know, my own merch. I got the SB gear.
That's a dope logo too. Yeah.
So people see me, I'm still me, I'm still SB. It's just the way that I decide to go about my page and my music artistically.
Well, and I support it 100% too, just because like, I know that you said it in the past too. It's almost like the industry standard is imagery, you know, like, who is Kendrick Lamar? Who is J. Cole? Who are these guys behind this song? You know, a lot of the media, television and all the social media want to see these faces rather than listen to their top songs or a song that they wrote and spilled their heart out on. It's more so what they look like and stuff like that. And right. So, and I agree with you on that sense. Like the mask front is totally a great idea. And it's, you know, it's been done before, but you're doing it in your own way. Like, for instance, you got Blue Man Group, you got Marshmello, you got, you know, ICP, all these people that are putting masks on, but for the most part, they're wearing the same mask every day, every performance. You know, you, on the other hand, you're switching it up each release or each thing you're promoting. And I feel like that gives fans something even more to focus on, something more than what other artists have. You know, other artists might be wearing a different jacket or something, you know, or like have a new tattoo somewhere, something like that. But, you know, they're probably, your fans are like, hey, what's RememberSB going to be wearing or as a mask? You know, what's his next mask for this one? So I'm 100% behind that. I mean, the only one that I feel like changed it up, like, I mean, there's probably more than this, but like the one that stood out to me was MF Doom. And like now that he's gone, you know, someone's got to do it.
For real.
Now, why Remember SB?
So initially, I just wanted to be SB. But Safari owns that. So that's Nicki Minaj's ex-boyfriend.
Ah, okay.
So I'm like, you know, I'm not competing with nobody for my name. You know, so I was like, I just thought about it and I'm like, man, remember SB, because you'll never forget the day you heard me spit for you. You know,
that's dope.
You know, I go out to shows, you know, and after I perform, you know, I'll just be like, yeah, man, you can find me wherever, blah, 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 at RememberSB. And it's because you'll never forget the day you heard me spit for you. And it really resonates with people. And like, they get used to like hearing that. So like, if people have been out to my shows before, like they already say, like they saying it with me type, like, so it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
What inspired the switch between saxophone, piano over to rap? Like what made that transition?
I mean, I was always into music. I loved all different types of music. I just love music and sound, and it's just something to me just makes sense. And I was able to listen to everything but rap. That was taboo in the house. Could not listen to rap. And it wasn't until one of my older sisters was babysitting us one summer because my parents wanted to go on vacation. They didn't trust me and my other sister in the house alone together. So my sister comes through and she's listening to, she's like, all right, just don't tell them. She puts on some Hot 97. And I'm hearing all these songs that are using samples from original songs that I know or played. And, you know, I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Like they're taking the dopest part, the meats of it, you know, the emotions of it. And they get the most out of it. And then they're putting these dope rhythmic rhymes. And, you know, I'd always write as a kid, you know, short novels and stories and things like that. And I'd never be able to finish them because it was always so long. You know, like I'm a very good reader, but for me, I don't like books because it's so much fluff. You know what I mean? But with these songs, I saw an opportunity to just be like, yo, I can say what I have to say very quick and concisely, you know, straight to the point. And, you know, I fell in love from there. You know, I didn't think that it was something that I was necessarily going to do. But, you know, when I didn't have any direction to go into, I was supposed to go to the Air Force. My parents wanted me to follow my dad's, you know, footsteps. I wound up not doing it because right before I signed the final papers, one of my friends was like, yo, come to the studio session real quick. It's going to be your last time out here. And to this day, I've never been in a studio session where I've seen this happen. But he finished his session about 20 minutes before, you know, his allotted paid time there. And he was like, yo, bro, fuck it, just hop in the stool. Like, yo, just spit some real quick. And I go in there, I just close my eyes and I just feel and I just let it out. You know what I mean? Just raw honesty, whatever the fuck I said. And when I got out, everybody's jaws was on the floor. They're like, bro, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you can't be going to the Air Force, bro. And my homie locked me in his car for until 5 a.m, until my dad woke up so that I could try to talk him, you know, see what happened. And as you already know, I told you what happened after that.
That's crazy. You just had all this stuff built up over the years. That's awesome. Now, with that, tell me a little bit about this new single that you're promoting called 5G Frequency.
All right. So what's cool is I just wanted to give y'all a sneak peek into something that's going to be coming out. You know what I mean? So this isn't even something that's even out yet. So y'all getting some super, super exclusive. But I'm actually, the reason why it's not out yet, we got to put the final master on it. And we're shooting a music video to it. So that's going to be my new thing for this year. I'm going to see how that works out. I'm going to be having music videos in the song come out at the same time. I already got 5 of them lined up already. So it's going to be exciting. But yeah, 5G Frequency. It's a dope record. Hope you guys enjoy it.
Dope. So we're going to get right into 5G Frequency by RememberSB. You know, if you've been watching this on YouTube or wherever you watch videos so far, you're going to be wondering who this guy is behind this mask. Well, you're about to hear the talent behind it with this song, 5G Frequency, that we're honored to have the exclusive opportunity to listen to right here. So here it is, and then we're going to get right back into it with RememberSB.
Yeah. Hey, yo, you feeling that frequency? Yeah. 5G. Remember S. Fuck you looking at, pussy change your attitude. I leave your ass 6 feet laying latitude. Solid balls, each one they will go standard. Lyrically smart like I just graduated Stanford. How you going ape if you're Diddy Kong? You're Jada Smith and now I'm Mr. High. I can fly, you don't know what type of shit I'm on. Never made your girl leave before the break of dawn. So best advice for you, stay hidden. Cause my goons will size you up like you getting fitted. No way you going ham if you're born chicken. Your flavorless second was seasoned in a white kitchen. Bitch, don't you got like 3 jobs? Flipping Krabby Patties like you SpongeBob. I'm CEO, bought the over rich mob. Trying to get the sack of money, y'all. Peter Steve Jobs.
Bro, yo, don't touch the bread. Don't touch the bread, dog. Nah, cause you ain't rolling off the fucking wall. You know what I'm saying?
Hey man, rest in peace to Steve Jobs, man. Rest in peace.
Nigga, fuck Steve Jobs, nigga. I got an Android.
Not just finished rolling up a mean J. Cheese on my mind, though I'm not a fan of Green Bays. Me, myself, and Nas split it 3 ways. It's a fucking rap like the gifts on your B-day. Rarely seen, so they say I live a ghost life. But mainstream artists need somebody to ghost right. Right? My flow hot lava. Pose on the beat like I added in a comma. Elected to the top, nigga, really it was not it. Now girls shake that ass, shake them asses to my sambas. Lyrical laboratory, you can call me Dexter. I use words you wouldn't find in the Webster. Lotus flower bomb, all I want is your nectar. I spit a little game and mix it with peer pressure. The beats get gobbled like a turkey. Brain freeze artist with my lyrical slurpee. I made it stand out like a cold sore herpes. Who else is reppin' New Jersey? If they going hard, I must be going harder. My bottles all gone, I'm sauced. It's harder. Stop shooting them bricks. I'm like a remote that just clicks. 3 or 4 watches that go tick in the closet in a half full of piece of shit floating in the toilet water. When I ask if it's nice, they say kinda sorta. There's a sign around your neck saying out of order. I'm stacking bread up in the game, I'm a money hoarder. Yo, where my fucking drink, nigga?
That was 5G Frequency by RememberSB. That's RememberSB. Coming soon. You're going to hear that on your airwaves, Spotify and all that. You just got to wrap this music video and everything up. That song is dope, dude.
Thank you so much, man.
Who produced that?
My homie. Shout out my boy Jay Spizzy.
That was dope. And honestly, it was one of those hip hop tracks that's like, oh, the artist had something to do with this production because it complemented each other so much. Did you have anything to do with that, or was that just you vibed with it that much?
So basically, I was chilling with my engineer / homie that raps and sings. Shout out my boy Trippy Troy. I was at his crib, and we was at the stool drinking, chilling, all that, smoking. And he like, yo, my producer, Ben, wanted to chop it up with you because I have a song with Trippy that's coming out in his album this year called Gang Round. And he was the producer of that. So when he heard that track, he was like, oh, that's that guy? He was like, I'm trying to meet him. So he wound up pulling up and we chilling, drinking, smoking, all that. And he like, yo, I'm putting on my beats right now. Like, I got to see what's up with you. And he was just beat after beat after beat. And we was just chilling, I'm kicking it, having a good time, killing him. And he put that shit on. And I was like, yo, I'm like, nah, this is different, son. I was like, yo, let me get that. So I start thinking of some I'm spitting, whatever. They like, ooh, nah. And then from there, it was just boop, 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 set everything up. Yo, let's get to work. And yeah, that just happened. And then I got an Android. So I was like, you know what I mean? When I was like, RP to Steve Jobs, I'm like, all right, how can I make this funny and, whatnot? And we'd be rolling dice. So it was like, all right, cool. You know what I'm saying? It's act like we're rolling dice, you know what I mean? And everything just came together perfectly for that. And I really can't wait for the release because everybody's excited about it, as I am.
Dude, no joke. And I feel like you did a great job, lyrically in itself, but the fact that you made it entertainment as well, right when people were so focused on what you were saying, boom, comes in the interlude midway, and you guys crack a joke and then you get right back to it. That was so dope. It makes it almost like a 3-dimensional element into the song, kind of like a mini movie. You could picture what's going on in this song just by you guys messing around like that. So who were some of your influences for rap? Who were people that you were listening to that motivated you when you heard these samples in these songs?
Obviously, they had me listen to Biggie.
Yeah.
Had me listen to Pac. Had me listen to DMX, Jay-Z, Lil Wayne. But then, of course, you got MF Doom. You got my man Blue. My homie put me on to Blue and Exile. And I remember we were sitting in his car just smoking. He was like, yo, listen to this dude. And his album was called Below the Heavens. It was so fire. somebody I truly felt was underrated. You know, when I listened to him, I'm like, how's this guy not bigger? Because he was amazing. But yeah, there's a lot of different people that I've listened to over the years. And the thing about me as well is, even when I played the sax, you know, before I taught myself how to play the piano and would compose music, like I didn't really read music. I didn't care to, because I can hear something one time and then remember it and then be able to do it again. So when it comes to songs, you know, I can hear it just one time and I can remember everything about it, the cadences, the drops, you know, the different sound, like everything, like it's, you know, so like I just take the meat off of, you know, when I hear a song, just what I like about it, you know what I'm saying, or what can work for me, or like what I can change and things like that. And then I just kind of just move on.
It seems like you embraced, before learning to rap or figuring it out yourself, it feels like you embrace the feeling a lot more than most other artists do before they get into hip hop, and, you know, in specific. But like you were getting the feeling before you actually established the sound behind that feeling. Like, so when you rap now, you know exactly how to deliver it because you were studying that for so long, you know. So that's something I'm envious of. That's freaking dope. Now, when you were listening to this other music before you got to rap, like obviously, like you said, Biggie and them were your influences for rap and hip hop. What were you listening to prior when you were playing sax and piano?
You know, obviously a lot of hardcore jazz. You know, then you got your soft jazz. I'd still listen to like pop or whatever. My parents were cool with me listening to Z100 at certain times with them. So I still caught like the Billboard, you know, the top Billboard songs. I was able to listen to like rock, you know, and then those pop rock bands, heavy metal. I even listen to country. Like it for me, like music is, I mean, even video game music, like, oh my gosh, there was this site VGS music or something like that, where I'd go on there and I'd look up like the different, like, cause I played like, you know, all the Final Fantasies, and then I had, you know, hella Nintendo 64 games and, you know, growing up. And I'm like, yo, man, let me like look this up. Cause like all these games I used to like or like go buy it. Like I wanted to get the soundtracks to them. And yeah, I love music, man. Anime music. Whew.
What's your opinion on hip hop today then? You know, based on all the music that you grew up on, and now you got to see, just like you got to witness hip hop at its greatest, in my opinion, to what it is today. What's your opinion on that?
For the most part, it's become more of a business, you know, like more entertainment, you know, rather than, you know, an artist, you know. So I'd rather be identified as an artist, you know, because it's a different structure, you know, you do things differently. And the thing is, you know, always, you know, the agenda is always going to be pushed mainstream, whatever they want it to be. And that's fine. But the lane for independent artists now, and just people having the ability to choose what they want to hear. It's no longer, you know what I mean? Just like the only way you're going to hear something is at the radio station. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like now there's so many ways to consume that, you know, people will eventually find their way to what they like and their niche. But I believe the more that people, you know, will continue or just strive to just be themselves, I think the industry will kind of shake up and it'll kind of go back. You know, the golden era was the golden era, but I mean, you get as close to it as possible. But yeah, that's just what I try to preach to everybody, not even just artists. You know, just be yourself. You know, don't be scared to be yourself, and express yourself in the ways that is you, and just being honest with you, because there's only one you. That's what's so great about
Well,
it.
and I hope you're right. I hope you're right that if people, continue to be themselves, then the industry will come around, because the way it's looking to me right now is the fact that it has become such a mainstream media type thing. It almost makes you wonder, like, a lot of people are like, oh, no, you got to come out with something new. So that way that new thing becomes popular, and then that'll evolve into something big. But it's almost like you don't want to do that, because at one point, hip hop was a new thing. And that was kind of a niche thing. If you were into hip hop, that was like your thing. That was cool, whatever. And then it became this mainstream thing because too many people got involved with it. So it's almost like you want to do something special that's also like a niche kind of market that you can make a living off of, because you don't want it to become mainstream, because then it's going to get oversaturated, and then you get these, mumble rappers, like I'm saying, these artists that aren't really artists. Some of them have come out and been okay. Like, they can actually rap. I don't know why they're not actually rapping. They decide to mumble rap. But for the most part, that's what the mainstream hip hop image is, or hip hop, business has done to them.
Yeah. And, like I said, for some people, they're not in it for the art. And then, if blessings come from it, then, you're very thankful. There's some people that just see it as pure money grab,
right? Yeah.
And they'll do whatever they feel is necessary to make that happen. I mean, even for example, for myself, when the drill beats started hitting the scene, everybody was, and it was funny because before drill, there was a different cadence or rap style that everybody was doing. And then, Pop Smoke comes in and he brings in this new style. And it was funny how I'm just seeing all these, different artists out here, that I know and whatnot, switching it up and doing this drill. And I'm like, oh, okay. That's like, what happened to the other flow?
Right.
Where'd that go? So it's like, but seeing the fickleness sometimes, and not just standing on your own. And that's why I said, like, I feel like if more people, will be themselves, I think that the quality of music will be better, and it wouldn't feel so oversaturated.
Right.
It feels oversaturated because everybody's doing the same thing.
Right. I mean, picture what Post Malone, if nobody knew what he looked like. I feel like his music would be even great. Not that, his looks are deteriorating his image, but it would make it so much more interesting if you heard only his music, because he was another one that did the sing rap type thing and totally evolved that way too. So it almost makes you wonder, like, this whole, image, like, hiding type thing could have worked and benefit for these other people, because now it's almost like the prize is ruined, because you know what they look like, everything about them now. So move on to the next artist. And I feel like that's what happened with artists like him. Kind of a side note there, but
well, I think that's another thing too. The unlimited access.
Yeah.
That people are given nowadays, it's oversaturated. So, like you said, once you find everything, once you see everything, and you're not making new things and changing things, then you get put on the shelf.
Yep.
So, even with myself, people always ask a lot of different questions, and I don't give, certain answers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'll do fun things and, be very interactive online, but it's only in certain spaces, or I'm famous for doing like this on IG, but, they'll show me like out to dinner, chilling with some homies and like that. And then like couple of my homies, like other people or some girls that hit me up like, oh, y'all over here, da 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 da. I'm like, oh no, that was like 3 days ago.
Yeah.
That spontaneousness,
yep.
And just continue to just switch it up. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
You gotta do it.
Do you feel like there's any part of you that like has the what if factor for growing up and not being totally, immersed into any kind of music? Are you grateful in a way that your parents kind of kept you sheltered for certain stuff, or do you kind of wonder what it would have been like?
No, you know what? Like everything happens for a reason. So there's no point in playing the what if game.
Absolutely.
This is, so it's like, because anything could have went in any different direction.
Right.
And who's to say that this would have even been the direction, that I wound up choosing. So,
well, and like I said earlier too, I feel like the way you came into music was the way, was probably the best way, because you came in with the feeling before, focusing on words and delivery and stuff like that. You were more focused on, what the overall song felt like and overall sound felt like. Like, that's really how anybody should come into music, because it is more than just a sound that you're hearing, or it's supposed to be, I should say, because there's a lot of mainstream music out there right now that's just a sound. But what's your favorite aspect as an artist now that you are one?
I can't even say that I really have an absolute favorite, because I love the entire process for me. Like it's like a washing machine, and I enjoy each process, what I mean? Cause I love this,
Yeah.
So, but if you had to put a gun to my head, I would have to say, performing.
Right. Well, one thing I noticed with you too, based on the music videos, or the one I saw Poolside Problems was the one video I saw. And I could tell that aspect must be a blast for you. And it seems like you're really involved in that, because it fit the song perfectly. I don't know where it was shot, but you were even so transparent in the beginning that you said we were late and stuff like that on the actual video. So it was sick. Explain that process. How do you like that and everything?
Yeah. So that was actually down in Miami.
Okay.
And, obviously I was, I'm on the song with my bro, man, El Bezel. And, me and him, we just move. I don't waste time. If I say I'm going to do something and I want to move on something, I act on it. And we was like, man, we should really shoot a video to this. And this was back in October. And it was like, yo, all right, what's the flights? Them was I think it was $50 round trip. I was like, what? I'm like, I bet that's nothing. I'm like, yo, I'll find down there. Bam. I find some, it was called Tropical Oasis or whatever. And that was all shot at one location. It was crazy.
Yeah.
It was just so beautiful. So I'm like, all right, boom, I got the spot. He's like, bam, I got a videographer. Boom. All right, we'll have him crash at our place. Then I got my my personal videographer with me to get the BTS. I mean, boom, boom. We was just stacking it up. We wound up doing 2 shows down there. Then at the show, we was like, yo, we shooting a video, blah, blah. Then he has his 2 homegirls from DC. They make music and they was doing some photo shoot or whatever down there. So he was like, yo, just come on through. And just everything came into place. Everybody was real professional. And yeah, I love that aspect of it too, because, when everybody is free to create, and free to be themselves, the things that everybody comes up with, you know what I mean? It all comes together into one, masterpiece. So it's the same thing with the beat. If the person doesn't really love making that beat, it's not going to come out, that way. If, I didn't love my verse and he didn't love his verse, it wasn't going to come out that way. If the engineer didn't love working on it and loving where the process of the song and what they could potentially make it, the mixing engineer and the mastering engineer, then it's not going to show. So everybody was in love with it and everybody put their 110% into it. And that's the reason why everything just came together.
That's awesome. No, and that's such a rare quality too, to have everybody collaborating on the same wavelength, so that's so dope that you got to experience that. And I mean, fingers crossed that it happens on every project here on out, because that that came out dope, and everybody's going to be expecting the same now, so
hell yeah. And you know what, you set standards, so everybody that's watching and listening, definitely feel free to go on my YouTube, at RememberSB, and check out all the different videos. They're all different. Some of them I'm not even in. One I got as a animated cartoon, like it's like a cartoon that I can't even describe it. I got a animated music video, anime one coming out soon too. Like so many different things. I just like switching it up every time. But when these, different videographers want to work with me and stuff, they obviously see, the past work and the things that I've done, and they see the creativity and how each and every one of them is different. And when I say I'm allowing them to have that creative control and freedom, that happiness that they get, that it's not just a point and shoot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, I feel like, these videographers, man, they getting away with murder, man. They out here charging them crazy amounts of money to shoot a music video. And they're just point and shoot. Yeah, just stand right there with some money. Pull out a gun or something. Like, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like they're not being creative. So like when they get to work with me and, we're just trying things that they always wanted to try. And they're like, yo, is this cool? I'm like, yeah, let's do it. You want them to care about it. If they don't care about your work, you don't even want to work with them.
Right. Because then it comes down to the editing process where they're saying, oh, that $3,000 we're charging you, 90% of it's here. But in my opinion, the artist should be 150% involved in that editing process. Like unless it's like some crazy music video director that, the artist is 100% behind, which doesn't really happen at a, lower level, in music. You have to like, those are the people that you invest a lot of money in. So these guys that are charging, so much that haven't even been doing it that long, I agree with you. It's kind of over the top. And I feel like there's definitely like the fact that you found a group or, a crew, whatever, that's on a more collaborative scale that, works with you because they believe in you. That's honestly what I'm about. That's like the whole Rise Up Entertainment, like my whole thing. That's what that's about because of that. Exactly. The music industry is constantly ripping people off. And it's just, I'm all about the passion and the support rather than, the money and the dollars behind it. It's just ridiculous.
I'll give a little hint to all the artists listening in, man. If you're going to spend the money anyways, right? Like think about it like if you was going out to eat, you're about to take your girl out on a date or something, or go on a date with your man. And you plan on going to this one restaurant and you walk in and right from the door, the service is shitty. You know what I mean? Like, It stinks in there a little bit. You're not going to go and eat. You're going to turn around. You're going to go somewhere else.
Right.
You know what I mean? Until you find a place that you're comfortable with. So the same thing with, your music, applies. If, somebody, wants to work on make a beat for you or something like that, and it's not something you're feeling, you know what I mean? You don't have to purchase it. If somebody, wants to make artwork for you and, they're not doing what they're supposed to do. Don't like, I don't know. I find that I just feel like it's a lot easy.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a lot easier to find out who really loves your work for your work and for people that just want to get the dollar.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. To close this out, what's an area of the industry or your artistry in general that you'd like to explore more of in the future?
I want to get my songs remixed into different genres. I'm actually the first person in music history to make a Jersey Club album with my own original music. You guys can look it up. It's called Pork Roll vs. Taylor Ham, A Jersey Story. Where it's 18 records of all Jersey Club, but I want to get into dubstep, EDM. I want to be able to have my music in all different aspects and phases where people are like, wait, what? Like, oh man, like there's no channel they can turn to, or there's nowhere they can listen where they wouldn't be able to find SB.
Oh, and I believe you can, dude, based on everything I've heard. The kind of evolution I've heard from your older stuff to the newer stuff is there, and I hear the progress. And if you are looking for Remember SB online, find him at linktree/RememberSB. You can find him on youtube.com/RememberSB. Instagram, you can find him at RememberSB. Make sure you go follow him. Make sure you listen to everything that's coming out. Catch up on his releases so far, because that 5G frequency was just the beginning of it. Every song's diverse and different as much as I've heard. And finally, I can't thank you enough for coming on. This has been dope.
Man, it was amazing, man. Thank you so very much. And you're a dope host, man. You're a dope host.
I appreciate it, man. Make sure you go follow him everywhere you can. Like I said, we're going to close out this episode with a release feast. I'm a little behind on a few releases, so I wanted to bring at least one of them up. I have a couple, I believe. Here it is. Get ready to eat it up. Release feast.
Release feast.
First one I want to mention is on November 5th, Post Malone and The Weeknd released One Right Now through Republic Records. This song is the lead single off of Post Malone's fourth upcoming studio album, 12 Carat Toothache. I loved it because it was kind of predictable what you would get, and it was catchy. I mean, it's technically, what they call pop nowadays, but it was The Weeknd's production with Post Malone on the vocals. I mean, they both were on vocals and stuff, but you could tell The Weeknd had a big factor on the production side, or was a big factor on the production side. But it was great to hear, still on the charts on Billboard, so check it out when you can. One Right Now by Post Malone and The Weeknd. The next one is a hip-hop song released on January 28th by Benny the Butcher and J. Cole. It's called Johnny P's Caddy, and basically it's a reminiscent take from each artist. Johnny P's Caddy, I think Johnny P was Benny the Butcher's father, so he's kind of going over a little history and stuff like that, but it was great. I mean, the lyrics were on point, and it's off Benny's upcoming album, Tana Talk 4. Don't miss it. Go listen. Johnny P's Caddy. The final one that just gets an honorable mention is Straight Bars 4 by Paige Kennedy. It had like Royce the 5'9" on it, King Crooked. There was like so many different artists on it. Lyrically, it was insane. It's a hip-hop song, but it's so dope. You got to go listen to it. I just added it to a playlist. But yeah, Straight Bars 4 by Paige Kennedy. It should be on all streaming platforms. But that wraps up the first episode of 2022 here. Thank you for tuning in. Like I said, there's a few new things coming to this podcast this year, so stay tuned on those. The Artist on Call remix segment, that's going to be awesome to have some of the people on that have been on in the past again and hear what they're up to now. But if you have any ideas, reach out. musicmondays@mazement.co. If you're an artist or musician that needs any help with branding or anything like that, feel free to hit me up at musicmondays@mazement.co as well. I'd be happy to help in any way I can. And also, don't forget to subscribe and follow wherever you see this podcast, wherever you listen to it. I appreciate all the support. And until next month.